Li Taemin stood in the center of the great council hall. The room was huge, bigger than 10 football fields. Strange lights floated above his head, casting shadows on the floor. Around him sat 12 alien beings, each one different from the others. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others had eyes like giant black marbles. A few looked almost human, but their skin was blue or green. Behind Li Taemin stood 3 other humans. Park So-jin kept her hand near her weapon. Her dark eyes watched every alien in the room. She had fought in 3 wars and knew danger when she saw it. Kim Da-eun held a small computer tablet. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, taking notes. Choi Min-ho carried a briefcase full of trade documents. His face was calm, but his knuckles were white from gripping the handle too tight. The leader of the council was a tall creature, with 4 arms and silver skin. It spoke in a voice that sounded like metal scraping against stone. "Ambassador Li Taemin of Earth, you will listen to our decision." Li Taemin nodded once. He had been Earth's voice in this place for 5 years. In all that time, the aliens had treated humans like children. They spoke down to him. They ignored his suggestions. They acted like humans were too stupid to understand important things. "The council has decided," the silver alien continued. "Your species grows too fast. You build too many ships. You ask too many questions. This makes other species nervous." Around the room, other aliens nodded their heads or made clicking sounds. Li Taemin noticed that none of them looked at him directly. They were afraid, he realized. Not of him personally, but of what humans might become. "Therefore," the leader said, "Earth must give up 60% of its military ships. You will also accept guidance from the Altarian hegemony. They will help you make better choices about your future." Park So-jin made a small noise behind him. Li Taemin raised his hand slightly, telling her to stay calm. He had expected this. For months, his intelligence reports had warned him this day would come. "May I ask why?" Li Taemin said. A creature that looked like a giant jellyfish floated forward. Its voice came from a translator box that hung around what might have been its neck. "Your people discovered how to fold space last year. This technology is dangerous. Only older, wiser species should control such things." There it was. The real reason. Humans had learned to bend space like paper, making travel between stars much faster. The other species in the galaxy had taken thousands of years to learn the same thing. Humans had done it in 50 years of trying. "The Altarians will take control of your military," another alien said. This one had scales and spoke through a breathing mask. "They will also manage your colonies and decide where new human settlements can be built." Li Taemin felt something cold settle in his stomach. They were not offering partnership. They were demanding surrender. Earth would become a puppet state, controlled by aliens who feared human potential. "And if Earth refuses?" he asked. The silver leader's forearms moved in what might have been a shrug. "Then Earth will be removed from the galactic community. No trade, no communication, no protection. You will be alone in the dark between the stars." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Li Taemin looked around the room one more time. He saw fear in some alien faces, greed in others. A few looked sad, but none of them spoke up for humanity. He thought about Earth, 37 light years away. He thought about the children playing in parks under a yellow sun. He thought about the cities full of people who dreamed of exploring the galaxy. He thought about the scientists working to cure diseases and build better lives for everyone. Then he thought about what would happen if these aliens got their way. Humans would become servants. Their children would grow up knowing they were not free. Their dreams would be decided by creatures who saw them as dangerous pets. "I need to make a call to my government," Li Taemin said. "No," the leader replied. "You will decide now. Accept our terms or face the consequences." Li Taemin smiled for the first time in hours. It was not a happy smile. I do not need to call anyone. I already know what Earth's answer is. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small crystal cube. The aliens tensed, but he just placed it on the floor in front of them. The representative from Earth withdraws from these proceedings, he said in a clear, strong voice. Consider this humanity's formal resignation from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. The room exploded into noise. Aliens shouted in languages his translator could not handle. Some jumped to their feet. Others made angry whistling sounds. Park So-jin stepped forward and activated a small device on her belt. Suddenly, all the electronic equipment in the room went quiet. The floating lights dimmed. The translator boxes stopped working. Even the air recycling system made a soft dying sound. "What did you do?" the Silver Leader demanded, but his voice was much quieter without the translator to amplify it. "Quantum scrambler," Park So-jin said. "No recordings, no transmissions, no surveillance. What happens in this room stays in this room." Lee Tae-min picked up the crystal cube and handed it to Kim Da-yoon. She activated it with her thumb, and a hologram appeared above it. The image showed Earth as seen from space. Beautiful. "And blue and alive. This contains our final message," Lee Tae-min said. "Earth thanks the Galactic Council for the opportunity to participate in galactic civilization. However, we cannot accept terms that would make us slaves. We choose freedom over security. We choose independence over protection." He gestured to his team. "We are leaving now. Do not try to stop us. Do not try to follow us. Earth will remember how we were treated here today." The four humans walked toward the exit. Their footsteps echoed in the suddenly quiet room. None of the aliens tried to stop them. They seemed too shocked to move. At the door, Lee Tae-min turned back one last time. "You wanted to control us because you fear what we might become. Now you will learn what we are when no one controls us at all." The door closed behind them with a soft hiss. In the council chamber, 12 alien species stared at the crystal cube lying on the floor. None of them moved to pick it up. They all understood that something important had just ended, and none of them knew what would happen next. President Yoon Ji-woo stood at the window of her office, looking out at the city below. The buildings reached toward the sky like metal trees. Flying cars moved between them in organized lines. People walked on the streets, going about their daily lives. They had no idea that everything was about to change. Behind her, the emergency cabinet meeting was just ending. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials filed out of the room with worried faces. Only a few people stayed behind. Admiral Shin Ye-jin remained in her chair, studying a tablet full of fleet positions. Han Woo-jin, the head of quantum research, was drawing diagrams on a whiteboard. Kang Hye-won sat quietly in the corner, still, wearing the disguise she had used to escape from alien space. "Tell me again what you learned," President Yoon said without turning around. Kang Hye-won stood up. She was small and looked harmless, which made her perfect for spy work. "I spent 2 years working as a translator on the Altarian homeworld. I got close to their military planning council. They call it Project Human Leash." She activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies and outposts. Blue lines showed trade routes. "They want to divide our colonies among their allied species. Our technology would be given to races they trust. Our people would be relocated to reservation worlds where they can watch us." Admiral Shin Ye-jin looked up from her tablet. "How long do we have?" "The vote was supposed to happen next week," Kang Hye-won replied. "But Lee Tae-min's resignation surprised them. They will probably move faster now." President Yoon finally turned around. She had been a general before becoming president. Her face still had the hard look of someone who had made difficult decisions in wartime. "Han Woo-jin, is the project ready?" The scientist nodded. "We finished the last tests yesterday. We can phase the entire Sol system into a parallel dimension. From the outside, it will look like we just disappeared. How long can we stay hidden? Forever if we want to. The dimensional barrier is self-sustaining. We would be completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. But we would be safe. President Yoon walked back to her desk and sat down. She picked up a photo of her daughter, who was studying medicine at the university. And you are sure this is our only choice? The intelligence is clear, Admiral Shin said. They do not want us as partners. They want us as controlled subjects. If we stay and fight, we might win a few battles, but we cannot fight the entire galaxy. What about running? Taking our people to another galaxy? Han Woo-jin shook his head. Too far. Too dangerous. And they would eventually find us. But if we phase out of their dimension entirely, we become impossible to detect or reach. President Yoon was quiet for a long moment. Outside her window, children were playing in a park. They laughed and ran around, chasing each other in games that had no real consequences. Soon, she would have to make a choice that would affect every human who would ever be born. Send the recall signal, she said finally. Admiral Shin Ye-jin activated her communication device. All stations, this is Fleet Command. Project Homecoming is now active. All human personnel and vessels are to return to Sol System immediately. This is not a drill. Across the galaxy, human ships received the coded message. On the mining station near Proxima Centauri, workers stopped their machines and began packing. In the research facility orbiting Wolf 359, scientists saved their data and prepared to leave. Human merchants in alien ports suddenly discovered urgent business back home. The withdrawal happened faster than anyone expected. Humans had always been good at logistics and organization. Within 72 hours, ships were moving toward Earth from hundreds of different locations. They came in groups, taking different routes to avoid attracting attention. Captain Lee Jun worked on a cargo ship that carried rare metals between systems. When he got the recall message, he was docked at a station in Zephyrian space. The aliens there had always treated him fairly, paying good prices for human goods. "What is happening?" asked Zethix, his usual trading partner. The alien had blue skin and 3 eyes that could move independently of each other. "Business at home," Captain Lee said. "Emergency family matter." He knew it was not quite a lie, but it was not the whole truth either. The Zephyrians had been kind to humans, but they were still part of the galactic system that wanted to control Earth. Within hours, other alien traders began to notice. Human ships were leaving ports without explanation. Human workers were quitting their jobs and going home. Human diplomats were packing up their offices and closing embassies. The galactic news network started reporting strange patterns. "Human Exodus puzzles galaxy," read one headline. "Where are the humans going?" asked another. On Earth, the preparations continued in secret. Han Woo-jin worked with teams of engineers to build the dimensional barrier generators. They looked like tall metal towers with glowing cores. 12 of them would be placed around the solar system, creating a bubble that would move Earth into a parallel dimension. Admiral Shin Ye-jin coordinated the return of human forces. Warships that had been exploring distant systems came home loaded, with refugees from human colonies. Transport vessels carried families and their belongings. Even small personal spacecraft joined the Great Migration home. Some humans did not want to leave. On the colony world of New Sol, a group of settlers had built a beautiful city in a valley between purple mountains. They had lived there for 20 years and considered it home. "Why should we run?" asked Kim Soo-bin, the colony's elected leader. "We have done nothing wrong." The evacuation coordinator, Park Jong-soo, understood their feelings. "The galaxy has made its choice about us. We can either accept their control or choose our own path. There is no middle ground." In the end, most humans chose to come home. They packed up their lives and left behind worlds they had learned to love. They said goodbye to alien friends who did not understand why they had to go. The last ship to leave. Human space was a small courier vessel carrying diplomatic personnel from the Centauri embassy. As it jumped into hyperspace, its pilot looked back at the alien worlds growing smaller behind them. "Message from Earth," his communication officer reported. "All human assets have been successfully recalled. Total population recovered, 47,300,000 people." The pilot nodded. In just 3 days, humanity had pulled itself out of galactic civilization like a sword being drawn from a stone. Soon, they would disappear entirely. On Earth, President Yoon Ji-woo made one final broadcast to the galaxy. Her image appeared on communication networks across thousands of worlds. "People of the galaxy," she said, "humanity thanks you for the opportunity to be part of your civilization. We have learned much from you, and we hope we have given something valuable in return. However, we cannot accept the terms that have been offered to us. We choose to find our own way forward. We wish you peace and prosperity. This is humanity's farewell." The transmission ended. A few hours later, Han Woo-jin activated the dimensional barrier generators. The Sol system began to fade from normal space, becoming transparent like a ghost. Within minutes, Earth and everything around it had vanished completely. Where the yellow sun had shone for billions of years, there was now only empty space and distant stars. The galaxy suddenly felt much larger and much lonelier than it had before. Dr. Kim Da-yoon stood in front of a room full of reporters and government officials. Behind her was a massive screen showing complex equations and diagrams. Most people in the room did not understand the science, but they knew it was important. This technology would decide humanity's future. "The dimensional barrier works like this," she began, pointing to a simple drawing of 2 circles. "Imagine our universe is like a sheet of paper. We have learned to slip between the sheets into a space that exists parallel to normal reality." A reporter raised her hand. "Does this mean we are leaving our universe?" "Not exactly. We are moving to a place that touches our universe but cannot be reached from it. Think of it like being in the same building but on a different floor. We are still here, but no one else can find the stairs." President Yoon Ji-woo watched from the back of the room. The decision to reveal the technology had been difficult, but people deserved to know what was happening to their world. Dr. Jang Min-soo, the lead engineer on the project, stepped forward. "The barrier will surround our entire solar system. From outside, it will look like we simply stopped existing. No energy signatures, no gravitational effects, no way to detect us at all." "What about communication?" another reporter asked. "Can we still contact the outside galaxy?" "Only if we choose to," Dr. Kim replied. "We can open small windows in the barrier to send or receive messages, but we control when that happens." Not everyone was happy with the plan. Dr. Lee Soo-young had organized a group of people who believed isolation was wrong. She stood up from her seat in the middle of the room. "This is a mistake," she said loudly. "We are abandoning our responsibility to help other species. Some aliens are our friends. Some need our knowledge to solve problems in their worlds. How can we just disappear and leave them behind?" The room became quiet. Dr. Lee's words carried weight because she was respected as a philosopher and teacher. Many people had learned ethics from her books. Dr. Kim Da-eun nodded respectfully. "I understand your concerns, but the galaxy has made its position clear. They do not want our help. They want our submission. We cannot help anyone if we are slaves." "But what about the Cetacean Collective?" Dr. Lee continued. "They are peaceful. They have always treated us as equals. What about the small worlds that depend on our trade to feed their people?" Park Jun-ho, the agricultural coordinator, stood up to answer. "We have been secretly sending supplies to friendly worlds for months. We have given them enough food and technology to last several years. We are not abandoning them completely." The debate continued for hours. Some people believed humanity should stay and fight for their rights. Others thought they should try to negotiate a better deal. But most agreed that the galaxy had left them no choice. Finally, President Yoon came forward to speak. I know this is frightening. We are about to do something that has never been done before, but we must remember why we are doing it. The galaxy wants to control us because they fear what we might become. They want to limit our growth, our exploration, our dreams. She gestured toward the window, where stars were visible in the dark sky. Our ancestors looked up at those same stars and decided to reach for them. They did not ask permission. They did not accept limits. They built ships and flew into the unknown because that is what humans do. Now the galaxy tells us we have gone far enough. They want to put chains on our children and walls around our future. I will not allow that to happen. If we must choose between freedom and acceptance, we choose freedom. The vote was close, but isolation won. Preparations began immediately. Katasi, dimensional barrier generators were already in place around the solar system. Each one was the size of a skyscraper, floating in space like metal monuments. They had taken 5 years to build and required more energy than some civilizations used in a century. Dr. Jiang Min-Su worked with teams of technicians to calibrate the devices. The slightest error could tear the solar system apart or trap it permanently between dimensions. Power levels are stable, reported engineer Nam Si-woo from the control station on Luna. All generators are synchronized and ready. On Earth, people gathered in public spaces to watch the historic moment. Some were excited about the adventure. Others were scared about being cut off from the galaxy. Families held each other close, knowing that this day would change everything. The countdown began at exactly noon, Earth time. 10, 9, 8, voices said across the planet. Dr. Kim Da-yoon's hand hovered over the activation switch. She thought about all the alien friends she had made during her studies on other worlds. She hoped they would understand why humanity had to make this choice. 3, 2, 1, activate. She pressed the switch. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the sky began to shimmer like water. The sun flickered for a moment, becoming transparent. The stars changed positions slightly, as if someone had adjusted a camera lens. On the moon, engineer Nam Si-woo watched his instruments carefully. Dimensional phase shift beginning. Reality anchor points are stable. No structural damage detected. The change was gradual but unstoppable. Over the course of an hour, the entire solar system slowly faded from normal space. Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and all the other planets became ghostly and translucent. The sun dimmed, but did not disappear completely. From outside the solar system, it would look like everything had simply vanished. Space probes approaching from distant stars would find empty vacuum where Earth's sun used to be. No planets, no asteroids, no trace that life had ever existed there. But inside the dimensional barrier, everything was normal. The sun still shone warmly on Earth's surface. The planets continued their eternal dance around their star. People went about their daily lives, though they knew they were now living in a pocket of space that touched no other reality. President Yoon Ji-woo stood on the balcony of her office, looking up at a sky that was no longer part of the galaxy she had known. The stars looked the same, but she knew they were reflections, echoes of distant lights that could no longer reach Earth directly. Communications. Prepare a final transmission, she ordered. The message went out through a temporary window in the dimensional barrier. It reached every world in the galaxy simultaneously, carried by quantum transmitters that bent space itself. President Yoon's face appeared on screens across thousands of worlds. Her expression was calm but determined. People of the galaxy, this is President Yoon Ji-woo of Earth. As I speak these words, humanity is completing its withdrawal from your dimension. We are not running away. We are choosing our own path. She paused, looking directly into the camera. You feared what we might become if left free to grow and explore. Now you will learn what we become when we are truly free. We do not know if we will ever meet again. We hope that if we do, it will be as equals, not as master and servant. Humanity wishes you peace, prosperity, and wisdom. Perhaps someday you will understand that freedom cannot be controlled and dreams cannot be caged. Until then, we will be here, just beyond your reach, building the future we choose for ourselves. The transmission ended. The window in the dimensional barrier closed with a soft sound like a door being shut. In the depths of space where Earth's sun had once burned, there was now only darkness and silence. The galaxy had lost something precious, and most of its inhabitants did not even realize what they had thrown away. On Earth, Dr. Lee Soo-young stood with Dr. Kim Da-yoon, watching the strange new sky. "I still think we should have tried harder to find a peaceful solution," she said quietly. Dr. Kim nodded. "Maybe you are right. But now we have time to grow strong and wise. Maybe when we meet the galaxy again, we will be ready to show them a better way." Above them, stars that were not quite real sparkled in a sky that belonged to no one but humanity. The greatest adventure in human history had just begun. Admiral Rexamora stood before the emergency council meeting, his scales a dull gray color that showed his worry. Around the circular table sat representatives from all the major galactic powers. The great hall that had once felt powerful and important now seemed empty and desperate. 50 years, he said, his voice echoing in the chamber. 50 years since the humans vanished and our civilization is falling apart. The Zephyrian trade representative, Zixandra, fluttered her wing-like appendages nervously. "Our shipping industry has never recovered. Human crews could navigate the dangerous nebula routes that our people cannot handle. Our cargo delivery time has increased by 300%. Counselor Vexthera, the jellyfish-like being who had helped drive humans away, floated silently. Her once bright colors had faded over the decades. The decision to control humanity haunted every moment of her long life. "The synthetic consciousness has gone completely silent," reported Technara, whose mechanical body clicked and whirred as she spoke. "Without human programmers to maintain their core systems, they simply stopped responding to our communications last year." Admiral Rexamora activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Red areas marked regions where wars had broken out. Yellow zones showed economic collapse. Only small patches of green indicated stable systems. "The Hegemony War began 3 years after the humans left," he continued. "Without human mediators to help negotiate disputes, old enemies started fighting again. The death toll is now over 4 billion beings." In a hidden observation post near the star Vega, Commander Ko Sung-min watched the emergency broadcast with his small team of scientists and intelligence officers. The station was invisible to galactic sensors, protected by the same dimensional technology that hid Earth. "They are really struggling," said Dr. Nam Hyren, the team's xenobiologist. She had been monitoring galactic civilization for 20 years, watching it slowly crumble without human participation. Lieutenant Oh Dae-hyun, their military strategist, studied tactical reports on his screen. 17 major conflicts currently active. Most of them could have been prevented with proper diplomacy. Humans were always good at getting different species to work together. Commander Ko nodded grimly. Before humanity's withdrawal, he had served as a liaison officer with alien fleets. He remembered how often human negotiators had prevented small arguments from becoming galactic wars. "What about the search efforts?" he asked. Dr. Nam pulled up a new display. "They have tried everything. The Altarians built new sensor arrays that can detect quantum fluctuations across half the galaxy. The Crystalline Collective created mathematical models to predict where we might have gone. Even the peaceful cetaceans have been using their biosensors to search for dimensional echoes. Any success? None. Earth's dimensional barrier technology is still beyond their understanding. To them, we simply stopped existing." Back in the council chamber, the discussion was becoming heated. Counselor Thekvar, whose species looked like walking trees, spoke in a deep, slow voice. Perhaps we should consider that the humans do not want to be found. They left by choice, after all. Choice? Admiral Rexamora's scales turned bright red with anger. They were forced to leave by our ultimatum. We thought we could control them, and instead we lost them completely. The economic damage alone justifies any effort to bring them back, insisted the Zephyrian representative. Before the humans left, our trade networks reached 97% of inhabited systems. Now we cover barely 60%. Entire sectors have become isolated. Counselor Vexathara finally spoke, her voice transmitted through the water-filled sphere that contained her. I have studied human culture extensively since their departure. They called it cutting off your nose to spite your face. We feared their independence so much that we destroyed the very thing that made them valuable. The truth was worse than most galactic citizens realized. Humans had not just been good at trade and diplomacy, they had been the galaxy's primary source of innovation and problem-solving. When they vanished, technological progress had slowed to a crawl. Dr. Kelthan, the galaxy's leading physicist, gave his report with obvious frustration. We have made no significant advances in quantum fold technology since the humans left. Their research notes were encrypted and we cannot break the codes. Without their insights, we are stuck with transportation methods that are centuries old. Even more troubling was the psychological impact. Many alien species had grown depressed without human presence. Humans had a way of inspiring others, of making impossible things seem achievable. Without that influence, entire civilizations had become pessimistic and stagnant. The art galleries are empty, reported Cultural Minister Yex Tala. Human creativity inspired our artists to create new forms of expression. Without human musicians, painters, and writers, our own artists have lost their motivation. Commander. Ko Sung-min read the reports with mixed emotions. Part of him felt sorry for the galaxy's suffering, but another part felt vindicated. Humanity had warned the galactic powers that controlling them would have consequences. Should we report this to Earth? Asked Lieutenant O. Not yet, Commander Ko replied. Our orders are to observe and report major developments only. This is just confirmation of what we expected would happen. The galaxy's attempts to find humanity had become increasingly desperate. The Altarian hegemony had spent their entire military budget on search expeditions. They had sent ships to every system within 1,000 light years of where Earth used to be. Explorer Captain Dex Molly had led 12 different search missions. Each one had returned empty-handed. We found systems that match Earth's stellar neighborhood, he reported to the Council. But there is no trace of human presence, no electromagnetic signatures, no quantum echoes, no debris fields. It is as if they never existed. The Crystalline Collective had taken a different approach, using mathematics and probability theory to predict where humans might have gone. Their best scientists worked for decades on the problem. We have calculated over 10 million possible destinations, announced their chief mathematician Cristal. We have sent probes to the most likely locations. All searches have yielded negative results. Even more disturbing were the attempts to recreate human technology. Without human innovation, several species had tried to reverse engineer human devices and computers. All efforts had failed miserably. Human technology is not just advanced, explained engineer Zektor. It is designed in ways that our minds cannot comprehend. They think differently than we do, solve problems using methods we never considered. The Cetacean Collective, known for their wisdom and peaceful nature, had tried a more philosophical approach. They studied human culture and psychology, hoping to understand humanity well enough to predict their actions. Elder Cetacean Thrum Whistle addressed the Council through a translation device. We have concluded that humans value independence above all else. They would rather face any danger alone than accept control from others. This suggests they will not return until they believe the galaxy has changed its attitude toward them. And, have we changed? Asked Counselor Vexathara. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the answer, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Finally, Admiral Rex Mora spoke. "We offer them pardons for leaving. We offer them trade agreements and territorial concessions. We offer them everything except what they actually wanted, which was respect, equality, the right to make their own choices without interference." Dr. Nam Hai-Rin, monitoring the broadcast from the hidden observation post, made notes in her report. "They still do not understand," she said to Commander Ko. "They think humans left because they were angry or stubborn. They do not realize that humans left because the galaxy proved it was not ready for true partnership." As the council meeting continued, it became clear that the galaxy had learned nothing from humanity's departure. They were still trying to solve the human problem instead of solving their own attitudes. The session ended with the same conclusion as always. More search expeditions would be launched. Larger rewards would be offered for information about human whereabouts. Better sensor technology would be developed. But no one suggested that maybe, just maybe, they should examine why humans had felt the need to leave in the first place. Commander Ko Sung-min closed the communication channel and looked out at the stars. Somewhere beyond those distant lights, Earth existed in its own private dimension, growing stronger and more advanced every day. The galaxy had chosen to lose humanity rather than treat them as equals. Now they were learning the true cost of that choice, and they still had no idea how much worse things were about to become. Chancellor Bei Su-jin stood in her garden, watching children play under the warm afternoon sun. Earth had become a paradise during the 50 years of isolation. Cities were clean and green, with vertical farms and parks on every street. Technology had advanced beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. But most importantly, humanity had grown wise. The debate about returning to the galaxy had been going on for months. In the Great Assembly Hall, representatives from every human settlement argued about their future. Dr. Lim Jae-won led the faction that wanted to make contact again. Song Mi-young headed the group that believed isolation should continue. "We have a responsibility to help," Dr. Lim argued from the speaker's platform. "Our monitoring stations show that the galaxy is suffering. Wars, economic collapse, technological stagnation. We have the knowledge to fix these problems." Song Mi-young stood up from her seat. "And what makes you think they want our help? They drove us away because they feared us. That fear has not disappeared just because they need us now." Admiral Kwon Seok-jin, who commanded Earth's new defense forces, presented the military perspective. "Our ships are faster and stronger than anything the galaxy has seen. Our weapons could end their wars in days. Our shields could protect their planets from natural disasters. But power means nothing if they will only try to control us again." Chancellor Bei listened to the arguments carefully. Like President Yoon before her, she had been a military leader who understood both strength and strategy. The decision she made would affect every human who would ever be born. "What does our intelligence tell us about current galactic attitudes?" she asked. Commander Ko Sung-min had returned from the observation post to give his report. "They are desperate, but they have not learned humility. They offer rewards for our return, but their plans still include safeguards to monitor human activities. They want our help, but not our independence." Dr. Nam Hai-Rin added her analysis. "The Cetacean Collective are the only species that truly understand why we left. The others still see our departure as a tantrum rather than a principled stand." The debate continued for weeks. Some humans argued for immediate return with full military force, showing the galaxy that humanity could not be controlled. Others wanted to remain hidden forever, building their own perfect civilization without outside interference. Chancellor Bei finally decided on a test. "We will make limited contact with one species to judge current galactic attitudes. If they have truly changed, we will consider broader engagement." The choice of species was important. The Altarians were too aggressive. The Zephyrians were too focused on profit. The Crystalline Collective were too logical to understand emotions like respect and freedom. The Cetaceans, suggested Dr. Nam. They are peaceful, wise, and they have always treated other species as equals. Admiral Kwan disagreed. If we are going to test the galaxy's response, we should contact a species that represents the mainstream attitude. The Cetaceans are not typical of galactic civilization. After much discussion, they decided to contact the Cetaceans first to gather intelligence, then make broader contact based on what they learned. Ambassador Song Mi-young led a small diplomatic mission through a carefully controlled opening in the dimensional barrier. Her ship, the New Soul, was smaller than a traditional Earth vessel, but contained technology that would amaze galactic scientists. The Cetacean home world was a water planet with floating cities that moved with the ocean currents. When the New Soul appeared in their sensor range, every cetacean in the system stopped what they were doing. Elder Thrumwhistle's joy was transmitted across all frequencies. "The humans return! After 50 years of silence, our lost friends. Come home!" But Ambassador Song quickly learned that even the friendly cetaceans brought troubling news. "You must be careful," Elder Thrumwhistle warned during their private meeting. "The galaxy has not learned wisdom from your absence. They plan to implement safeguards the moment you return." "What kind of safeguards?" "Neural monitoring implants. For all human leaders. Mandatory inspection of human ships and facilities. Limits on human population growth and territorial expansion. They call it preventing another disappearance." Ambassador Song felt her heart sink. They still do not understand. "The fear has grown worse, not better," the elder continued. "Your technology has advanced far beyond galactic norms during your isolation. They know this, and it terrifies them." The ambassador returned to Earth with proof that the galaxy had learned nothing from 50 years of suffering. Chancellor Bay called another emergency assembly. "The choice is clear," she announced to the packed auditorium. "We can remain hidden forever, safe but isolated. We can return as subjects, accepting their control to help them with their problems. Or we can return on our own terms, as equals." Dr. Lim Jae-won spoke first. "If we stay hidden, the galaxy will continue to suffer. Millions will die in wars we could prevent. Entire civilizations might collapse without our assistance," Song Mi-young countered. "If we return as subjects, we betray everything our ancestors fought for. We become servants to creatures who see us as dangerous animals that need to be controlled." Admiral Kwan stood and faced the assembly. "There is a third option. We return with such overwhelming strength that they cannot even consider controlling us. We show them that partnership is their only choice." Chancellor Bay raised her hand for silence. "I have made my decision. We will return, but not as supplicants or conquerors. We will return as humanity always has, on our own terms." The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Earth would re-emerge from dimensional hiding, but protected by an impenetrable quantum shield. One small communication station would be established at the edge of the solar system, far enough away that no weapons could threaten Earth itself. "We will offer our knowledge and assistance freely," Chancellor Bay explained. "But any attempt at coercion or control will result in our immediate withdrawal. The choice will be theirs." Dr. Han Woo-jin, now elderly but still brilliant, supervised the modifications to the dimensional barrier. Instead of complete isolation, the barrier would become a selective shield. Earth would be visible and reachable, but only to those who came in peace. The return was scheduled for July 4th, 2437, exactly 50 years after humanity's disappearance. Admiral Kwan commanded the space forces that would protect the communication station. Ambassador Song prepared diplomatic protocols for first contact with a galaxy that had forgotten how to treat humans as equals. On the appointed day, Earth began to phase back into normal space. The process took several hours, reversing the gradual disappearance that had hidden humanity for half a century. Across the galaxy, sensor networks detected the impossible. Sol's system was reappearing. The yellow star flickered back into existence, followed by its family of planets. Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and all the rest returned to their ancient positions in space. But something was different. A shimmering barrier surrounded the entire system, visible to both optical and electronic sensors. It pulsed with energy that registered off all known scales. Chancellor Bay's transmission reached every inhabited world simultaneously. People of the galaxy, humanity has returned. We bring gifts of knowledge, technology, and friendship, but we will not accept control, monitoring, or restrictions on our freedom. At the edge of our system, we have established a communication station. Those who come in peace to trade, learn, or cooperate will be welcomed. Those who come with weapons or demands for submission will find our defenses adequate. Within hours, ships from dozens of species were racing toward the Sol system. Some came with peaceful intentions, hoping to re-establish trade and cooperation. Others came with military fleets, planning to force humanity back into the galactic hierarchy. Admiral Quan watched from the bridge of his flagship as the first alien vessels approached the communications station. The Zephyrian trade delegation arrived first, their ships broadcasting friendship signals and cargo manifests. Permission. "To dock and trade," came their transmission. "Welcome back to human space," Admiral Quan replied. "Proceed to Docking Bay 7. But behind the traders came warships. An Altarian battle fleet dropped out of hyperspace with weapons charging and shields raised. "Surrender immediately," Admiral Rex Mora commanded from his flagship. "You will submit to galactic authority or face the consequences." Admiral Quan smiled grimly. "I suggest you reconsider your approach." The Altarian fleet fired every weapon they had at the quantum shield. Plasma cannons, missile volleys, and energy beams struck the barrier with enough force to destroy a planet. The shield absorbed every attack without even flickering. "Impossible," Admiral Rex Mora whispered. "Actually, quite possible," Admiral Quan replied calmly. "You have 30 seconds to withdraw before we demonstrate why attacking us is inadvisable." The Altarian admiral, driven by 50 years of frustration and fear, ordered a full assault. Every ship in his fleet opened fire simultaneously. The quantum shield held effortlessly. Then it began to glow brighter. Admiral Quan spoke into his communication system. "Fire one warning shot. Minimum power." A single beam of coherent energy lanced out from the shield. It struck the lead Altarian battleship and simply stopped it. The massive warship hung motionless in space, its engines dead, its weapons silent, its crew unconscious but unharmed.